in general, we think that, well, teams that have the third overall pick and they're telling you that they're drafting a quarterback and not moving off the pick, they're doing it to inflate the value of the pick. I don't think them doing that kind of posturing is going to impact the value of that third pick. That third pick's value is tied to the fact that this is a 3-quarterback draft and they sit at 3. That's why people would be calling New England about their pick. And we're not talking about the 4th or 5th pick in this draft. We're talking about the first 3 picks in this draft. And the Patriots posturing is not going to drive the price up. The only thing that will drive the price up is them holding out for more, right? Just because we desire to, their posturing or what they project they're doing with the pick is not going to ultimately impact what it gets moved for.
Yeah, people are saying if you're in love with one of the other two, jump up and get them. Go get them then. And we kind of toyed around and tinkered with that of potentially what it could be. And Rap Sheet yesterday said it would be of epic proportions, a blockbuster deal of all deals. Like, so you mentioned the Lance one. That's 3 number ones from 12 to 3. So are you really going to give up a lot of collateral that you have that you need to just go get one guy? And you're throwing them to the wolves, kind of. That's part of it,
right? Because that's where you have to go to the overall plan. It's like, okay, so how do you put a team around that guy in years 1 and 2? Can you even do it? I mean, you've got a lot of money to spend, obviously, this offseason, but can you give that person enough help, whoever it is?
See, I just remember 3 years ago too. Like, if you love Justin Fields, go get him, or go get Trey Lance, or go get Zach Wilson. You were never going to get Lawrence. He's going to be the bona fide number 1 pick, but this has the feeling of being content taking a guy who falls to you at 3, as you did at 15. I know 15 is a big stretch. It's you're the 5th guy off the board at that time at the position, but it's just like sitting and waiting and not really circling the guy and saying that's our guy we want. That's why Schefter said, "Hey, the team's going to fall in love with somebody and come after that pick. Be more desperate than you to take a quarterback because they may have a better team." You got issues right now.
So the NFL Network put up a thing last night that showed what they thought it would take for the Patriots to get up to number 1.
Uh-huh.
And it was their first next year, their second this year, number 34 overall, plus a third this year and a third 2 years from now. That's what it would take to move up 2 spots.
All right, read that one more time.
So to move up from 3 to 1.
3 to 1.
You lose your second rounder.
You give up your second rounder this year.
We did something similar to this yesterday.
Yep.
I'm trying to remember
your
how this
first
compares.
rounder next year.
Yeah.
And 2/3. One this year and one in 26.
That's not bad.
I do that deal.
I would too. I would do the deal we mentioned yesterday too.
So you're essentially surrendering your first next year and your top of the second round pick this year.
Don't hate it.
To move up 2 spots. If you say this is the one guy who we know is going to be it, I make that deal every time.
I would much rather they do that than trade back. I'd much rather they be trading up and getting aggressive about it.
And if you believe Baker Mayfield's agent, when he talked, was that Jack Mills at the time? I think it was Jack Mills. He said, "There's a team. Don't sleep on them. They're trying to get up to number 1," and it was New England. So, there is a little bit of history here as to how we handle things. There are some guys in the system that sort of know maybe you were going to go for him there. I know Josh fell in love with Lamar at the end too, and Josh went back and worked Baker out, but. You got 2 months to figure it out. I'm going to give them 2 more months to let's see if they can fall in love with Daniels, and then I might be able to answer that. Would you give up that type of deal? Because right now I wouldn't, because I think you need so much.
I did find Chris Sims' commentary on Caleb Williams that he tweeted out very interesting. He said got into the QB film this week, so Chris Sims dug in deep. He's out there at the combine. He said Caleb Williams is the clear number 1. Pocket feel is incredible. The arm is incredible. Mechanics are nearly flawless from the pocket, and the off-schedule stuff makes you say, wow. He said with Caleb Williams, the negative stuff is mostly team-related.
Great.
He tried to do too much at times. The USC pass protection was rough and led to some occasional bad habits.
Get used to it here, pal.
He said, but if the Bears decide to make him the top pick and trade Justin Fields, I totally get it. That's what he said about Caleb Williams. And I would say that's great, but there is still the off-the-field element and leadership element.
There's stuff with
toughness element that the Patriots have openly discussed this week that they are prioritizing that I don't think they're going to find in that player.
Yeah, and I know. I talked with you during the last break, and you want to attack Caleb Williams for not turning into medical or not doing the workouts, or you're just going for the meet and greet. But you also understand that this combine is sort of a meat market. They poke and prod you, and guys aren't happy with it. And it's a weird 3 or 4. I was there for 5 days, so that's a long time ago. And the combine's changed since then. It's much more organized. Everything's much more detailed. But it's weird. It's weird going in those rooms where it's all doctors and it's all team related stuff, and you go team to team to team, and they're just looking for stuff. Going back to like when I remember I had a twisted back, and I got my back had a spasm in it early, and they took me in for X-rays and looked at it. So, like, what is this? Like, you had to talk your way through it. And I'm like, no, it's just a back that got X-rayed. Well, why'd you get X-rayed? That type of stuff. Looking for your knees to be bad. So I don't want to be critical of him, because there are other things that are issues off the field with him.
So,
and it sort of makes you all scratch your head a little bit with him.
Just to recap that, Caleb Williams is not going to go through the medical exams, right?
First one in the history of attending the combine that did not do it.
It is believed he's the first player invited to the combine to not do it, as you just said. He did not sign off on having his medical record shared with all 32 teams. And this is in response to the NFL. And I actually think this is kind of interesting, because I think Caleb Williams is the perfect guy to tell them no.
He's got leverage.
I kind of like what he's doing.
He's got leverage.
I do kind of appreciate this. I know a lot of people are going to see this and say, oh, it's Caleb Williams being a pain in the butt. I don't think so.
Is he hiding something?
No, he's the consensus number 1 pick, and he is pushing back against something that a lot of players would like to push back against but don't have the leverage to do it. That's what Zoe just said. He's got leverage. The NFL has gotten a lot of complaints from players about the amount of time that these medical exams are taking, and the just repeated questions, the same questions, the redundant questions over and over and over again, the same questions about their medical history that they have to answer for every team doctor that's there that wants to take a poke.
Okay, but how's that changed? So he also said this morning that he's going to do medicals for individual teams.
He did, which is better than doing it for 32. He's going to do it for like 8.
Well, no, I thought you would do it once at the combine and then everybody's got the results.
No.
Now, instead, he's got to go at a dozen different teams?
It's not once at the combine. If it's a dozen teams at the combine, it's a dozen times.
Oh, okay. So they don't have like one league
No, that's
official?
the complaint.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
So their complaint is, why don't you do this once?
Yeah.
Why don't you appoint...
have 32 doctors in a room. Let me do the test one time.
Right. So maybe you put, 5 doctors. You create a panel of doctors that ask all the questions and record the answers.
A pool of doctors.
Create a pool and do these things once. Instead of it forcing a prospect who might get drafted, let's say it's a guy who's in the middle of the first round. Well, every team is going to want, let's say he's projected to go somewhere around 20. Well, every team might have a chance to get the player. So 32 teams I want my doctor in there for an interview with him and looking at the medicals.
That's
and it's
a lot of turn your head and
what
cough.
the hell, right? So he's the first overall pick, and he said, I will submit to the medical exams with the teams that meet with me. And so that's the Patriots, that's the teams at the top. You're talking the Falcons, and the Jets were one of those teams, the Commanders, and obviously the team at the top and the Chicago Bears. Like there's like 6 or 8 teams where he's like, yeah, no, I'll do it for them. Those are the teams that are legitimately going to be near the top and are going to be looking at me. But if you're not meeting with me, I'm not going through your physical exam with your doctor. I'm good.
It's like Kevin Durant or Shohei Ohtani. You call the shots, man.
It's kind of a Belichickian move on his part, too. Like, I don't want to, those other teams, I don't need them knowing what's in my medical history.
Yeah. Well, like,
you take advantage of that.
It's like Tom Brady. He'd smash the phone.
Yeah.
Just bam. Smash it with a hammer.
Early 90s. I mean, it took me 6.5 hours to get through that day of physicals. It's
6.5 hour physical?
I mean, I remember.
Who the hell wants that?
I remember having breakfast. They schlep you over. You all walk over, and then you go through it. They feed you lunch here, and then you're looking at your watch. You're like, Jesus. And I had nothing wrong with me. So it's like,
oh, you had a lot wrong with you.
No, I know. But they're like, the word association. Here's a picture. What do you think? It's beer. Yeah.
Beer.
It's like, what was that? Armageddon.
Doing like ink blot tests and stuff.
Yeah. No, but like I didn't play that much. I didn't get hurt. Like, and just think about that. Like a healthy guy.
So think about a guy.
Healthy guy gets shuffled through. Imagine if I had big medicals.
Imagine if you're Michael Penix going through this.
Oh my God. 2 knees.
Oh,